No, the academy has been my home for the past 7 years, and of course, I have to take credit.
After 1 year outside of the tour, I think it's the right moment to be back. I have been.
Did you deal with the atmosphere, the energy, and the public?
Yeah, this is my first time playing a French player here, actually, in this tournament that I can remember.
RAFA Nadal Erupts. I've never seen a tournament this bad. Eala's revenge and Coco's crisis. Folks, welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, where we don't just report the scores. We reveal the stories they're trying to hide. And today? Today we have a scandal that is shaking the very foundations of the Australian Open, a redemption arc that sounds like a movie script, and a crisis that might just derail American tennis. Strap in, because Rafael Nadal, yes, the king of clay himself, has just gone nuclear. We are talking about a 10-word warning that has the WTA scrambling, the Australian Open officials in damage control, and the entire tennis world looking at one young woman, Alexandra Eala. If you thought the drama ended when Eala was knocked out of Melbourne, you are dead wrong. It was just getting started. Plus, we have the latest on Coco Gauff's absolute nightmare on Rod Laver Arena. You won't believe what she asked her coach in the middle of the match. It is shocking. We have a massive show today. Let's get into it. Let's start with the headline that is absolutely dominating the back pages. I've never seen a tournament this bad. Those aren't the words of a frustrated fan. Those are the words of Rafael Nadal. Here is the context. Following Alex Eala's heartbreaking first-round defeat at the 2026 Australian Open, the official narrative was simple. She lost a tennis match. The point system said one thing. But Rafa Nadal? He saw something completely different. In a move that we rarely see from the legend, Nadal stepped up in a fierce show of support for Eala, who is, as many of you know, a proud graduate of the RAFA Nadal Academy. But this wasn't just a better luck next time message. This was an accusation. Nadal called out what he perceived as blatant discrimination in the competition's organization, specifically regarding accommodation, court arrangements, and the general treatment of rising stars versus the established elite. He issued a 10-word warning. I've never seen a tournament this bad. Fix it now. That prompted the WTA to immediately issue a clarification regarding the Australian Open's policies. When a 22-time Grand Slam champion speaks, the world listens. Nadal's intervention suggests that Eala's loss wasn't just about forehands and backhands. It was about an uneven playing field. Was she forced onto a backcourt with poor lighting? Was her scheduling disadvantageous? Nadal seems to think so, and his defense of the young Filipina star has turned her Australian Open exit into a rallying cry for fairness on the tour. The tension around tournament conditions has been a brewing issue for years, but having someone of Nadal's stature publicly call out the Australian Open sends shockwaves through the tennis establishment. This isn't some mid-level player complaining about hotel rooms or practice court times. This is a living legend, someone who has won everything there is to win in tennis, saying that the standards have fallen so low that emerging talents are being systematically disadvantaged. The implications are enormous. If proven true, this could spark a complete overhaul of how Grand Slam tournaments allocate resources and schedule matches for lower-seeded players. What makes Nadal's statement even more powerful is his track record of rarely engaging in public criticism of tournaments. Throughout his illustrious career, Rafa has been known as a consummate professional, someone who lets his racket do the talking. For him to break that pattern means something seriously egregious must have occurred. Industry insiders are whispering that this could be the tip of the iceberg, with other players potentially coming forward with their own experiences of unfair treatment at Melbourne Park. But here is the thing about champions, and Alex Eala is a champion in the making. They don't wallow. While Melbourne was busy doing damage control over Nadal's comments, Eala was already on a plane, heading to a place where she is not just a player, but an icon, Manila. The scene at the inaugural Philippine Women's Open this Monday was electric. You have to understand the contrast. In Melbourne, she was allegedly fighting against the conditions. In Manila, she was fighting for a nation. Facing Russia's Elena Alexandrina in the first round, the pressure was immense. Coming off a first-round loss at a slam can shatter a player's confidence. But Eala didn't shrink. She exploded. In front of a raucous, packed crowd of Filipino supporters, Eala dismantled Scrambling. The scoreline says it all, 6-1, 6-2. It was a masterclass. It was aggressive, it was precise, and more importantly, it was the perfect exorcism of the ghosts of Melbourne. Scrambling, a solid player in her own right, simply had no answer. Eala was painting the lines, moving with a freedom we hadn't seen in Australia. It was a statement win that said, "The Australian Open might have knocked me down, but I am standing tall in Manila." The energy in the stadium was unlike anything the WTA Tour had seen in recent memory. Filipino fans had been waiting for this moment, waiting for their tennis princess to come home and deliver a performance worthy of her growing legend. The match statistics tell the story of complete dominance. Eala won 85% of her first serve points, broke Scarajawa's serve 5 times, and never faced a break point on her own serve. This wasn't just a victory. It was a statement to everyone watching that Eala is not defined by one disappointing result in Australia. The resilience she displayed, bouncing back within days from what could have been a crushing defeat, shows the mental fortitude that separates good players from great ones. What made the performance even more impressive was the tactical adjustments Eala made. Gone were the tentative ground strokes and defensive positioning that plagued her Melbourne campaign. In Manila, she played aggressive, attacking tennis, taking the ball early and dictating play from the baseline. Her serve, which had been unreliable in Australia, suddenly clicked into gear, with first serves consistently hitting the corners and setting up easy putaways. This is the Eala that tennis fans have been waiting to see consistently on the WTA Tour. After the match, the atmosphere in the press room was heavy, not with tension, but with emotion. Eala has become one of the most popular figures on the WTA Tour, and her Filipino fanbase is legendary. They are everywhere. But in Manila, it's different. When asked by Tennis Asia about the pressure of playing at home, Eala gave us a glimpse into her mindset that was incredibly mature for a 20-year-old. She admitted, "I think it holds a special place in my heart. My first ever professional match at home. I was able to spend it around family and around supporters and surrounded with love, so it's very special. But let's be real, love comes with expectations." Eala, who had received pep talks from fellow young stars Coco Gauff and Victoria Mboko before the tournament, didn't shy away from the truth. "Yeah, I would say there is a bit of added pressure," she said. "But yeah, that's the job. The job comes with pressure, and as Billie Jean King says, pressure is a privilege. I'm learning how to handle it in my own ways." Then, the conversation took a turn that really highlights why Eala is such a unique figure in sports today. When asked about her role as a global ambassador for the Philippines, her answer was profound. It wasn't about fame, it was about perspective. She spoke about how, when the pressure gets overwhelming, she reminds herself of the everyday person. She said, "It's nothing compared to the pressures that regular, everyday Filipinos have to face providing for their families. It's nothing compared to what my parents have sacrificed to bring me here." That is a perspective you don't hear often. She calls it a full circle moment, seeing her two worlds collide, the glitz of the WTA Tour and the grit of Manila. It grounds her. It makes the tennis pressure feel small, and that, folks, is a dangerous mindset for her opponents. A player who plays with gratitude rather than fear is a player who is hard to beat. This philosophical approach to pressure sets Eala apart from many of her contemporaries. In an era where young players often succumb to the weight of expectations, crumbling under the spotlight, Eala has found a way to reframe pressure as motivation rather than burden. Her ability to contextualize her tennis struggles within the broader framework of real-world hardships gives her a psychological edge that money can't buy and coaching can't teach. It comes from her upbringing, from seeing the sacrifices her family made, from understanding that playing professional tennis is an extraordinary privilege that millions would die for. The cultural significance of Eala's success cannot be overstated. Tennis has traditionally been a sport dominated by wealthy nations with extensive training infrastructure. For a young woman from the Philippines to break through at the highest levels represents something far bigger than individual achievement. She is carrying the dreams of an entire nation, inspiring a generation of young Filipino athletes to believe that they too can compete on the world stage. The economic barriers that have historically kept talented athletes from developing nations out of tennis are slowly being broken down, and Eala is leading that charge. So, what is next for the Filipino sensation? Eala, the second seed in Manila, is looking at a round of 16 clash that could be tricky. She will face either Himino Sakitsum or Nao Hibino. Here is the breakdown. Eala has played Sakitsum once before at the 2023 Japan Championships, and it didn't go well. She lost 6-0, 6-3. That's a scoreline she will want to avenge. On the other hand, she has never played Nao Hibino on the WTA Tour. Hibino is a veteran, a tricky customer who knows how to disrupt rhythm. If Eala gets past this hurdle, the draw opens up into a potential blockbuster quarterfinal against Camila Osorio or Mai Hontama. But for now, all eyes are on that round of 16. Can she keep the momentum? If Monday was any indication, the answer is a resounding yes. The path to the title is challenging but achievable. Eala's game is peaking at exactly the right time. Her confidence is sky high, and she has the crowd behind her. These are the ingredients for a magical tournament run. The potential rematch with Sakitsum presents an interesting psychological challenge. That 6-0, 6-3 drubbing in 2023 is the kind of scoreline that can haunt a player. But Eala is not the same player she was back then. She has matured physically and mentally. Her game has evolved, and she now possesses the weapons to hurt any opponent. If they do meet again, it will be a completely different contest, and the smart money would be on Eala exacting revenge for that humiliating defeat. Now let's pivot back to the scene of the crime, the Australian Open, where the American contingent is having a very, very different week. While Eala was finding her groove in Manila, Coco Gauff was losing hers in Melbourne. Coco Gauff's campaign came to a screeching, shocking halt on Tuesday against Elina Svitolina. And folks, this wasn't just a loss. This was a demolition. Gauff was thoroughly beaten 6-1, 6-2 in just 59 minutes. Let that sink in. Less than an hour. The stats are horrific. Gauff won only 41% of her first serve points. She hit 5 double faults. She sprayed 26 unforced errors against only 3 winners. 3 winners. In a Grand Slam match. Tim Henman, commentating on the match, didn't hold back. He slammed the performance, calling it shocking and tough to watch. And he is right. We are used to seeing Coco Gauff as a fighter, a supreme athlete who can grind out wins even when she isn't playing her best. But this was a collapse. But the most alarming moment came during the match itself. In her post-match press conference, Gauff revealed a conversation she had with her coaching box that is frankly worrying. She said, "I was just asking, am I playing wrong? Yeah, just asking for advice." Imagine that. You are on Rod Laver Arena, a Grand Slam champion, and you are looking at your box asking, "Am I playing wrong?" Her team told her to aim for bigger targets, to hit through the middle. But Gauff admitted, "I don't know. I just felt like hitting through the middle against her wasn't working. It was just an awkward day." Caroline Wozniacki tried to spin it as a learning curve, emphasizing that Gauff is still young at 21. But questions are being asked. Is this a technical issue? A mental block? Svitolina is a tough player, no doubt. But for Gauff to look so lost tactically is a major red flag for the rest of her season. The concerning aspect of Gauff's performance wasn't just the loss itself, but the manner of defeat. This wasn't a close 3-setter where a few points made the difference. This wasn't a tactical battle where Svitolina simply outthought her opponent. This was a complete breakdown of Gauff's game, where nothing was working and she seemed unable to adjust or problem solve on the fly. For a player who won the US Open and has been touted as the future of American tennis, this kind of performance raises serious questions about her development trajectory. Tennis analysts have been quick to point out that Gauff's forehand, long considered the weaker wing of her game, was completely exposed by Svitolina. The Ukrainian veteran, a crafty player with excellent court positioning, consistently targeted that forehand, forcing errors and preventing Gauff from establishing any rhythm. What was most troubling was Gauff's inability to make tactical adjustments. When Plan A wasn't working, there seemed to be no Plan B. This suggests either a lack of tactical awareness or an inability to execute alternative strategies under pressure. The coaching situation also deserves scrutiny. Gauff has been through multiple coaching changes in her young career, and while each transition has been explained as necessary for her development, the revolving door approach rarely produces consistent results. The fact that she was asking her box mid-match whether she was playing wrong suggests a fundamental lack of confidence in her game plan. Elite players trust their instincts and their preparation. They make adjustments based on feel and experience, not by seeking validation from the sidelines during crucial moments. There's also the psychological component to consider. Defending a Grand Slam title is one of the most difficult challenges in tennis. The target on your back gets bigger, the expectations skyrocket, and every opponent brings their absolute best against you. Gauff won the US Open in 2023, a career-defining moment that propelled her into tennis superstardom. But with that success comes pressure, and not every young player handles it well. Some crumble under the weight of expectations, second-guessing their abilities and losing the fearless, aggressive mindset that brought them success in the first place. The technical issues with Gauff's serve are also becoming increasingly apparent. 5 double faults in such a short match is unacceptable at the Grand Slam level. The serve should be a weapon, a reliable tool that sets up offensive opportunities. Instead, for Gauff, it has become a source of anxiety, a shot she seems unsure about even as she's tossing the ball. This lack of confidence in such a fundamental aspect of the game can have a cascading effect, undermining everything else. Gauff wasn't the only American casualty on Tuesday. Young sensation Iva Jovic also packed her bags after a 6-3, 6-0 drubbing by Aryna Sabalenka. But it's not all doom and gloom for the USA. We have a massive showdown looming on Wednesday. An All-American battle on Rod Laver Arena. Jessica Pegula versus Amanda Anisimova. This is going to be good. Pegula is the steady hand, the consistent force. She has won all 3 of their previous meetings, dating back to 2020. She even beat Anisimova in the final of the 2024 Canadian Masters. However, do not count Anisimova out. Things have changed. She is playing some of the best tennis of her life. She is now the American #1, and she is a 2-time Grand Slam finalist. Neither player has dropped a set on their way to the quarters. This is a clash of styles and a clash of momentum. The winner gets a semi-final date with either Iga Swiatek or Elena Rybakina. It doesn't get any easier, does it? Beyond the individual matchup, this All-American quarterfinal represents something significant for U.S. tennis. After years of drought following the retirements of the Williams sisters, American women are once again becoming a force in the sport. Having multiple Americans in the late rounds of Grand Slams is becoming the norm rather than the exception. This depth is healthy for the sport and creates a competitive environment that pushes everyone to improve. The broader storyline of this Australian Open has been one of unpredictability and upsets. Several top seeds have already exited, opening up the draw in ways that create opportunities for players who might not typically be expected to make deep runs. This unpredictability is both exciting and unsettling. Exciting because it means genuine competition and drama on every court. Unsettling because it suggests that the level of play across the women's tour has become so compressed that on any given day, almost anyone can beat anyone else. The mental side of tennis has never been more important. With coaching allowed during matches and technology providing unprecedented amounts of data and analysis, the physical gaps between players have narrowed considerably. What separates the champions from the also-rans increasingly comes down to mental fortitude, the ability to execute under pressure, and the capacity to problem-solve in real time when things aren't going according to plan. This is where players like Alexandra Eala, with her mature perspective on pressure, have a significant advantage. The controversy surrounding tournament conditions, sparked by Nadal's comments about Eala's treatment in Melbourne, highlights a long-standing issue in tennis. The sport has always had a stark divide between the elite players and everyone else. The top 10 receive preferential treatment in almost every way: better practice times, better courts, better scheduling, more attention from tournament organizers. While this makes some logical sense from a business perspective, it creates a system where emerging talents struggle to break through even when they have the ability to compete at the highest levels. Reform is needed, but reform is difficult when the current system benefits the established players and generates the most revenue for tournaments. Nadal's willingness to speak out, using his platform to advocate for fairer treatment of younger players, is commendable and potentially influential. If more top players join his call for reform, tournaments will have no choice but to listen and make changes. The Filipino tennis community is watching Eala's journey with intense interest and national pride. Sports heroes are rare in the Philippines, especially in individual sports like tennis that require significant financial investment and infrastructure. Eala's success is inspiring a new generation of young Filipinos to pick up a racket and dream big. Tennis academies across the country are reporting increased enrollment, and sponsors are beginning to invest more heavily in developing tennis talent. This is the ripple effect of having a breakthrough star. Eala isn't just playing for herself. She's building a foundation for Filipino tennis that could last decades. If she continues to improve and eventually breaks into the top 20 or even top 10 in the world, the impact on her home country will be transformative. More funding, more facilities, more opportunities for young players who might otherwise never get a chance to pursue their tennis dreams. The contrast between Eala's triumphant homecoming and Gauff's Melbourne nightmare perfectly encapsulates the emotional roller coaster of professional tennis. One week you're on top of the world, the next you're questioning everything about your game and wondering if you'll ever recapture that magic. The players who succeed long-term are those who can navigate these wild swings without losing their core identity as competitors. Looking ahead to the rest of the season, both Eala and Gauff face critical junctures in their careers. For Eala, the question is whether she can translate this momentum in Manila into consistent success on the WTA Tour. Can she handle the rigors of week-in, week-out competition at the highest level? Can she stay healthy and avoid the injuries that derail so many promising careers? For Gauff, the question is whether this loss becomes a wake-up call that forces necessary changes or the beginning of a troubling downward trend. The tennis world is watching both players closely. Eala represents hope, potential, and the democratization of a sport that has historically been dominated by wealthy nations. Gauff represents American tennis's future, a generational talent who needs to rediscover the confidence and aggressive mindset that made her a Grand Slam champion. Their paths may not cross often on court given their current ranking differences, but symbolically, they represent the two sides of the tennis journey, the ascent and the struggle to stay at the top. So there you have it, champions. Rafa Nadal is waging war on the Australian Open organizers. Alexandra Eala is proving that pressure is indeed a privilege in Manila, and Coco Gauff is searching for answers after a Melbourne disaster. The tennis world is spinning, and we are here to track every rotation. What do you think? Was Nadal right to call out the tournament for Eala's treatment? And can Alexandra Eala go all the way and win the title in front of her home crowd? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And hey, if you enjoyed this update, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a beat of the drama. We've got more incredible tennis content coming your way all week long, including full coverage of the Pegula and Isamova showdown and updates on Eala's quest for glory in Manila. Until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
After 1 year outside of the tour, I think it's the right moment to be back. I
think for United tennis players, especially the juniors, I think it's a great opportunity to be exposed to this level and this volume. I think it's only normal that with the loss comes disappointment and being upset, but then again, it's another opportunity.
I think I try to get as many 6-0s as possible because, you know, we have Ika who's like, you know, they have the bakery. So, you know, I can have a mini one.